Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, one and all, to the Just Interesting podcast, the weekly show where we discuss things that we find, well, just interesting. And in a bizarre change of pace, we are doing just that this week. In particular. So normally, we like to start these podcast episodes by doing something that we've learned this week. But this week, what we're going to be discussing is what we've learned this week. We're going to be bringing you a smorgasbord of facts about anything and everything. And joining me today, as always, it's Martin and Robin. Martin, how are you this week?
I'm very well. Yeah, no, glad to be back on board. We had a little bit of time off with people having their summer holds and doing lots of different nice things, but good to be back in a bit of a routine with the podcast. So yeah, no, all good. Thanks, Alex. Nothing crazy to report, apart from the fact that today has been the hottest day of the year. So that's your first fact.
Weather again.
That's your first fact. We have loads of them.
Anyway, Robin, you've really got to raise the level now. How's your week?
I'm not sure. Week's been right. The problem is hot. It's damn hot, and it's just completely cast all thoughts out of my brain other than it's hot. So Martin's right to draw attention to the heat because it just completely shuts me down. I just can't cope with it. Need some serious air conditioning or something to that effect in my abode, but I have nothing. I just rely on the air, and the air doesn't move, and it's this hot. The windows are open, but nothing's happening.
What's that thing to your right? Is that a radiator?
It's a radiator. No matter how high I turn it on, the heat just gets worse.
It just sat there looking at you mockingly. Yeah. It makes you wonder. Makes you wonder, doesn't it? How those Olympians do it in the Paris Olympics at the moment. That was a clunky segue, wasn't it?
But
very.
I don't know.
It's hot. It's hot in Paris too.
But I do think that some of our facts today are going to be involving the Olympics, I believe. So stay tuned for that.
Indeed.
Before we do jump into some interesting facts of the week, do we want to give a special thank you to some of the amazing people that have headed over to patreon.com to support us on Patreon.
You know what, Alex? We do want to say thank you to them because they are wonderful people. And in particular, we'd like to say thank you to Amy Licious, Cindy Hafner, Rashad Najar, Caleb Wilkerson, Kurt Jones, John Baker, Janie, Henny Ruffle, The Super Show Podcast, Nicholas Dill, Emmett Tapia, Ahmad, Peaswad, Josh Chomatek, A Filthy Casual, and Simon Workman. Wonderful people.
Amazing.
Creme de la creme of our Patreon supporters and YouTube members. So if you don't fancy supporting us on Patreon, you can just become a YouTube member if you're watching us on YouTube. Just click the join button below and give us your support if you wish to. Beyond that, just give us a like, a review on your podcast platform if you listen to us in the audio version, and share with your friends. Spread the good word. Thank you.
I've got some other news, actually. Some other more exciting news, and you reminded me of it halfway through that.
Oh.
I found the quiz trophy.
No, you didn't.
Did you actually?
No, you didn't.
I found it. I did.
Where is it?
I did.
No way.
I did.
I need proof of life.
It's in a box. In the box to my left.
Why is it in a box now? You're going to lose it again.
Everything you own in the box.
Because I've had the kitchen sorted, and so everything was packed up. Didn't realise. Found it in a box. So we're back in business, baby.
Well, I don't believe you.
Perfect condition.
You've got to show us. Come on. Photographic proof.
I can see if I can grab it. I'll do it later. We can maybe a hard cut and I'll do it later. Maybe show us at the end of the episode. But yeah, no, it lives. It lives. Which is good.
That's a good incentive for everyone to stay listening. Listen in to the end of the episode and you might get proof of life that the quiz trophy exists. But you know what? That will be even more painful, to be honest, because you actually have earned it, Martin, because you won last season's quiz. So
I know
it technically still should be in your possession. So
it's funny that, isn't it? Funny, Martin loses it and then he wins a season and then suddenly he finds it again. Seems to be a pattern.
Don't you think that the issue is that this cannot be replicated? Like they made one of these and then turned off the system. There's no way anyone will bother making one of these ever again.
It's a unique trophy. It's priceless.
I mean, it's bizarre, isn't it?
Most people listening to us, Martin, don't even know what the trophy is because they've never seen it.
True. Yeah, I think it's just down. It's tucked away slightly, so I might have to do a bit of rummaging. But
It's like that scene from Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, where Belloc and him are in that bar in Cairo, and he takes out the watch, the pocket watch. He says, "You see this watch? I bought it for $5 from a vendor in the street. It's worthless. I bury it in the sand for 1,000 years, and it becomes priceless." That's the conversation you two just had about the trophy.
It's true. That's true. Everything relates back to Indy. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
all roads.
Well, I'm actually really excited about that, Martin. That's fantastic news. And that just bodes well for the start of this new podcast season, which this is, by the way. So yeah, if you're just tuning in for the first time ever, this is a great time to jump into the podcast, because this is as you can see, you can't see if you're listening, but there's a quiz leaderboard behind me with 0 points on the board. And once a month, we do a live quiz over on the YouTube channel. So if you're not subscribed, head over to youtube.com/justinteresting and click subscribe and stay tuned for that. So, fellas, I'm curious, what have you learned this week? Who should we go to first? Any volunteers?
Martin would like to go first.
I'm happy to go first. Yeah, no problem at all. So I thought I'd kick things off in a thematically relevant way by bringing a concoction of Olympic facts. So most of the other facts that we present will just be kind of a single fact and a bit of a story. But I picked out 5 Olympic facts that I thought were quite interesting. So yeah, I'll rattle through them, and you can tell me whether they're kind of good, interesting, or bordering on mediocre. Fantastic. So the first one is that from 1912, when the modern Olympics began, through to 1948, or the 1912 was in London, wasn't it? 1912 to 1948, the Olympics awarded medals for artistic competitions in areas such as painting, sculpture, architecture, literature, and music.
Wow, I didn't know that.
No, never knew that.
No.
Never knew that. But pretty amazing. Wasn't the first one 1896 in terms of the dates?
Yeah, that's the first
1896 was the one Olympics. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Okay. So an okay fact there. I thought that was quite interesting. Didn't know anything about it.
So I'm not saying that I could be an Olympian, in that metric at all, but I'd have more of a chance than doing, track and field. If they still did that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is quite a common conversation in my household. Like, which Olympic event do you think, if you took it up now, you'd have the best chance of achieving Olympic gold? And it's got to be like archery or shooting, hasn't it?
It's got to be something that's not determined by
Is darts an Olympic sport?
No.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a team event, and you're just kind of like, just clapping on the sidelines.
Part of the team,
Yeah, I mean, I think you might be targeted, I guess.
How physically fit do you have to be for tobogganing?
What you mean? You mean bobsleigh? The bobsleigh?
Yeah.
They are. Yeah,
I know they are, but do you have to be?
Yeah.
Could you just be the one that sits in the middle, just all tight and snug?
I mean, what you could do is
useless guy.
You could be the cocks in rowing, couldn't you? Although I don't think they have the cocks in Olympic rowing.
No, they don't.
No,
they don't actually. Yeah, you're right.
It's a good thought.
It's
a good thought.
No, but the guys who are bobsleighers are like usually former athletes in other sports and get into bobsleigh.
Yeah,
tends to be the way. Big guys as well, and women. I
don't think you could. What about like team badminton or something? No, because it's like anything. I mean, those guys are insane.
Really fit.
I'm just thinking of
skill level.
No, but it's like I occasionally play badminton, but I'm not.
Can I join?
Well, no, but it's like so there's. I don't even know what I'm saying, but like you're starting from at least somewhere. Like it's 1% of the journey that you would need to take. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe
instead of 0. But I'm sure that doesn't matter. It's you may as well start from scratch. I don't know. I think all of us are probably past the threshold of
possibly.
If you trained incredibly hard and you were doing a 4x400 relay, right, and your team was, if your team usually wins by 200 meters, train.
Yeah, right.
Get to the stage where you're like, just about. I don't know. Maybe that could be an option. I don't know. Yeah, probably not many.
I reckon.
But anyway,
I reckon you'd be good at throwing something, Martin. You'd be good at the javelin,
Oh, javelin.
or the shot
Yeah.
put.
well, weirdly, I was weirdly good at shot put at school, which seems ridiculous.
I
doesn't
I
it?
knew
But
it. I could tell.
I think it's just the leverage of the arms, and,
Yeah, I
and
can
also
see it.
no one else had any kind of shot put technique.
I
I'm
look
not saying
at- I look at you, Martin, and I see a shot putter.
Same.
I think in like year 7, 8, and 9, when we did shot put, I consistently came second in the class of 30. Isn't bad,
Hey, well done.
but obviously that's not good enough to be an Olympic shot putter. Imagine that.
But you could have been. You
I could have been, yeah. All I need to do is just eat a lot more. Yeah, that's the way it works. Cool. So on to the second fact. In 1900 Paris Olympics, so back to Paris, but 124 years ago, the Olympics included a live pigeon shooting event where competitors shot as many pigeons as possible.
Oh, no.
And this was the only time that live animals were used in Olympic competition.
Yeah, they
Except
realised it was
horse racing.
bloody horrible.
Oh, yeah, killing them.
Oh,
There's blood everywhere.
This was horrible. Whose idea was this?
Spectators in the crowd just covered in guts and blood. Kids getting splattered with dead pigeons, slapping them in the face.
Suck it in beer.
Oh,
Yeah. Okay. And they were just like,
Yes.
never again. Never
no,
again.
this was who came up with this idea? Okay. At the Sydney Olympics in 2000, the Olympic flame was taken into space aboard the Space Shuttle Atlantis before the Olympics, symbolizing
remember
the
that.
international reach and unity of the games.
I never realized that. That's really cool.
Pretty cool,
I've
right?
forgotten that. That's really cool. Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
I don't want to. How did they do that? Like in general, like did they just have it in the cockpit with them? Like,
Yeah, they must have done.
What's-
Like I don't. Someone was holding it. Surely it was in like a
Yeah, it must have been
compartment covered in
secured.
what are
glass
the
or something.
logistics of that? Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure there must be videos and pictures. Yeah, it'd be worth having a look.
interesting.
Yeah. Okay. In the ancient Olympic Games in Olympia in Greece, the athletes competed nude. And this was believed to encourage aesthetic appreciation of the male body and prevent cheating. Everyone was naked. Level the playing field.
How does it prevent cheating?
I don't really know, but maybe if you're doing a shot put and you bring your own shot put to the competition that's lighter or something, I don't know.
I
There's
think
never
the
to
rumor-
hide.
It's to do with, I think, the legend, urban myth, is to do with everyone carry daggers and their own weapons and things.
There's not fighting.
So if
going on,
everyone's
isn't there?
naked,
Oh,
they can't
okay.
carry weapons and they can't,
Yeah, that's
do
true.
some dodgy stuff
Nice.
to,
nice.
to their opponents. Yeah.
Fair
Very
enough.
good. Very
makes
good.
makes sense.
And the final Olympic fact I've got for you is that in the ancient Olympics, there were no silver or bronze medals for second and third.
Say what?
Everyone who didn't win was a loser. So the victor was awarded an olive wreath, and that was it.
Sure.
No pieces of the Eiffel Tower included.
the
in
No,
it.
Olympics and all
no
I got was
participation
honestly-
trophies for you, sir.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though isn't the motto of the modern Olympics that it's not about winning, it's about just taking part. Wasn't that it? I'm
I'm pretty
paraphrasing.
sure it's not the motto. Surely,
I
taking
I
part. It sounds like a
vaguely
primary school
remember
motto.
reading that somewhere. I could be. Yeah, I'm sure I'm wrong. Fascinating facts, though, Martin. Really interesting. I didn't know.
terrific.
Or any of those actually. Yeah, no, really,
Okay.
really good.
Good.
Lovely
Good.
stuff.
Actually, the Olympic motto apparently is, well, the Latin is Citius Altius Fortius, faster, higher, stronger, which of course was then adopted by
Daft Punk.
very famous French electronic band.
Daft Punk. Why the hell weren't they? I know they broke up, but also,
Yeah.
come on,
What are they doing? What are you doing?
they should be at the
them
Paris
involved,
Olympics.
yeah.
Yeah.
They did
Yeah.
not. They did not perform. Yeah.
Oh, the Olympic
Mr.
Creed is what I'm thinking.
Oh, okay. Okay.
The most important thing in the Olympic Games is not to win, but to take part.
Rubbish. Yeah. I bet they lost.
Nice. Well, thank you for that, Martin. That was really interesting. Robin, did you have a fact you'd care to share with us?
I do, and it's also Olympic themed. I thought we'd keep the Olympic theme.
Should we just get all the Olympics ones out of the way?
Yeah.
The flame of light.
Okay.
Olympic part of the podcast, then we'll move on to other things. So it's about the ancient Olympics, and it's about a remarkable thing that I learned this week, honestly. Remarkable. They're believed to have started, according to Aristotle, and supported by most of the archaeological evidence. The ancient Olympic Games were first held in 776 BCE, long time ago.
Yeah.
And they were held every 4 years, and those 4-year units were known as Olympiads. They became so popular and so important that the ancient Greeks started measuring time in Olympiads.
Oh, wow, really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they say, at the time of the 15th Olympiad, at the time of the 100th Olympiad, because they did go on for quite some time. They didn't stop doing the ancient Olympic Games until 396 AD or CE.
So like 1,000 years, over 1,000.
Over 1,000 years.
Wow.
That's
Kept
crazy.
going straight for over 1,000 years. Yeah.
Amazing.
So we got some
That's longevity.
we've got some catching up to do with the.
We have got a lot of catching up to do. Because I
But if
thought,
the Earth survives, this is going to be going for a while, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's a good setup we've got going on.
true, I think maybe theirs was a slightly more sustainable model. They always took place in Olympia, and it was the same place, same location. They weren't spending the economy of a small island on the opening ceremony of every games. But maybe they were. I don't know.
Well, I don't think Paris spent that on their opening ceremony, throwing shade. No, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad.
As they would say.
Nice. That really puts things into perspective, doesn't it? So, like, by the time that we are living in the 29th century, we'll have finally caught up to that. Was it 1900? Yeah, 1896.
1896.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
around 2900, sometime around that. That's
Long way to go.
Yeah.
I wonder if this podcast will survive until then. Imagine that. 900 years' time, people will be listening to the Just Interesting podcast and thinking,
Beautiful.
these guys could have done more.
The Robot Robin will no longer be a joke. It will just be a matter of fact.
Oh, man. Sure, I've uploaded that consciousness to the ether, whatever it is. So what's your fact, Alex? What's your first? Your premier fact?
So my fact about the Olympics is that, the 1996 Olympics was held famously in Atlanta, which angered a lot of people in Greece because it was the 100-year anniversary of the founding of the modern Olympics, and that first 1896 one was held in Athens. It was the Olympics coming home and everything, and so in 1996, 100 years later, lots of Greek people were really expecting these to be awarded to Athens again as a kind of centennial, and it was instead awarded to Atlanta. And this started many conspiracy theories in Greece. And Greek media blamed a conspiracy organized by Coca-Cola, and bottles of Coke were subsequently poured into the sewers in Athens in protest at the news. And Coke's Greek market apparently took years to recover.
No.
Yeah.
What?
Because everyone hated Coke in Greece for a time, and they blamed the fact that they didn't get the 1996 Olympics on Coca-Cola.
That's crazy.
That seems a bit misplaced.
Well, you say that. Well, I mean, no, I'm not a proponent of the theory or anything, but Coke's headquarters was in Atlanta.
Okay.
And there was a lot of kind of bribery and corruption claims at the time. I think the governor or someone in Atlanta, or the mayor of Atlanta, was eventually arrested and spent like 3 years in jail on corruption charges. So I'm not saying that this is true, but I'm saying like that it wasn't like there was nothing to this. There's some interesting arguments for it. However, there's obviously no concrete evidence proving Coca-Cola's involvement in securing the bid. And I think in general, like it came down to Atlanta's successful bid being its comprehensive plan, modern infrastructure, its ability to host this large scale event. But I think a lot of people at the time were very shocked as well. Like like even people from Atlanta were like, "What? We're getting the Olympics."
I mean, Greece upped its game pretty significantly because it got it in 2004, wasn't it?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. I
So-
wonder, did autofill exist on the digital forms back then? Maybe they started typing Athens. It just did Atlanta.
You have chosen Atlanta. Oh, okay.
Whoops.
Yeah, it's all done by phone.
They thought it was
Athens.
they thought it was Atlantis, which was obviously from Greece. Yeah. Nice. So that's my first fact about the. Well, that's my only fact about the.
That is a
Olympics
crazy
for-
fact. That is genuinely mad.
I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
But moving on from the Olympics, anything and everything. Let's broaden our horizons. What other facts have we learned this week, Martin? Do you want to share anything
Yeah,
else with us?
sure. Round 2. Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about a nun, an English nun from the 14th century. And her name was Joan, or Joan of Leeds. Have you heard of Joan of Leeds?
I haven't
yeah,
heard
but
of
she was-
Joan of Leeds.
Basically a Benedictine nun or Benedictine nun at St. Clement's Priory in York. So it's called Joan of Leeds, but really this takes place in York more specifically.
This feels like a really budget knockoff film parodying Joan of Arc. Joan of Leeds.
Yeah, Joan of Leeds, yeah. And according to records, in 1318, she wanted to leave the convent. And at this time, it wasn't like the modern day where you can kind of worm your way out if you realize you're not up to the convent life. Back then, it was pretty shocking, and so she took the quite extreme and cunning measure to fake her own death in order to escape from the convent. So what she did is she made a dummy. It says made her dummy in her likeness. I'm not sure if how she necessarily had the materials to make a relatively lifelike dummy of herself. But anyway, she made this dummy. She left it in her bed, and it deceived the other nuns. So they came into a room. They believed that she was dead. Joan, are you alive? Joan asked her. Yes, shook the dummy's shoulder, realised that she wasn't waking up. And so naturally, instead of checking her pulse or anything like that, we're talking back in the olden days, they performed funeral rites over this dummy. Meanwhile, Joan escaped the convent. It gave her enough time to escape, and everyone was distracted by this funeral. And she managed to escape. Basically, she was. According to the Archbishop William Melton of York, she was seduced by indecency and had imprudently cast aside the propriety of religion and the modesty of her sex to pursue the way of carnal lust. So she took refuge.
And then the nuns were like,
Beverley.
"Don't speak ill of the dead, you monster."
Exactly. So Joan managed to escape her life of a nunnery via faking her own death and took refuge.
I mean, the nuns definitely
pretty
they were kind of in on it, or they just kind of wanted her out by that point, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, Joan, did you really think that this would fool us? Just go, just get out.
yeah.
What was this?
Oh,
Yeah,
fine. Yeah, if you got to leave,
this lifelike doll of hers.
Well, little known fact,
Yeah.
Joan actually bore a striking resemblance to pigs. So she just killed a pig and put it in the bed. And was like, oh, Joan.
Joan.
Joan, looking a bit youthful today, actually, Joan.
Joan.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Joan escaped, but it definitely shows kind of how strict their policies were. If you choose that life, you're in it for life. So much so that it was recorded at the time by, the Archbishop of York, which is a significant figurehead in the local area. So, Nun on the Run. Yeah.
Now that's the budget film title that you go for. Not Joan of Leeds. It's Nun on the Run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
The long-awaited
Thanks,
prequel to
Martin.
Nuns on the Run with Eric Idle and Robbie Coltrane. I guess it's just Eric Idle because Coltrane's dead.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, as is
Sadly.
Joan, unfortunately.
Sadly.
Yeah.
Is she, though? Maybe
Yeah.
she's... I don't know. Yes,
Frozen in
she's dead.
carbonite.
Oh, my gosh. That is Yeah, that's a good story.
That's good. That's good. Thank you, Martin. Robin,
That's a great story.
next on the agenda.
Oh, did you go? Have either of you ever been to to Egypt?
No.
I haven't,
No.
sadly,
No.
not been to
Well,
ancient
neither have I.
Egypt
And
or modern
I
Egypt.
wish I could. I'd love to go and see the ancient monuments of Egypt. Particularly because I discovered this week that the Sphinx, famous monument outside the pyramids of Giza, there's a hole, a tunnel, in fact, in its bottom.
Really?
It's an anatomically
that.
correct Sphinx.
Well done.
It is. So archaeologists detected this hole relatively recently and started to like, what's in here? Is there some kind of secret tunnel under the Sphinx? And I think it goes just 27 feet deep into the rectum of the Sphinx. And they found it was full of rubble. It had been filled in with
This
rubble.
podcast
Like,
is dangerously close to getting demonetized just from this topic alone.
And they found out it just stopped. It just stops about 30 feet in. I'm like, okay, random. And there's a whole bunch of holes, actually. There's another hole in the back of the Sphinx's head. And there was a French archaeologist called, I think it was Vassal Hees, I think is his name, or Victor. Let me check his name. And in the 19th century, basically, in the name of very kind of early stages archaeology, was like, I'm going to see what this Sphinx is made of. I'm just going to make holes all over it. And in the 1840s, Howard Weiss is his name, and he just started excavating this hole in the bum of the Sphinx until he gave up because it was too hard, because it's made of solid rock. It's carved out of bedrock. There's nothing in the Sphinx. But there's this hole in the back of its head as well. And it's known as Perring's hole. Perring was the name of his engineer. And I don't know why he did this. Like, this is curiosity gone too far. They just started drilling a hole in the back of the Sphinx using
And I'm sure all the locals were happy about this.
Oh yeah, white men come along and do what they like, right?
It's going to drill a hole in this monument.
Well, you
So
know what
just
you
drilling
say,
a hole.
Robin. Curiosity killed the cat.
Oh, yes. Here we go.
So he's drilling this hole with the rod. You know, I'm doing this gesture now. Everyone watching the
That's a gift.
watching
That's
this
a
on
gift
YouTube. That was not
outrageous,
intentional.
Robin.
It just kind of came naturally, as it were. But anyway, so he's
I mean,
the
phrasing. You hear yourself, right?
Yeah.
So the rod goes into the back of the Sphinx's head. And it just keeps going and going and going. And he goes, again, about 30 feet. And then he gets stuck because it's made of solid rock. And it just gets stuck. And he's like, oh, crap. Okay, how do we get this rod out? I know. I'll use some dynamite. So he sticks some dynamite
The lack of respect.
and then blows a hole in the back of the Sphinx's head. And the rod is still in there. It's still stuck. So luckily, this is where Howard Weiss says, let's stop there because I think we're damaging. Well, I think we're damaging
You
this.
might be damaging it, but you're exploding it.
Lots of angry
But-
people are heading this way with pitchforks. Maybe stop.
But let's restore the hole. So the bits that they've blown out of the back of the Sphinx's
Oh my God.
head, they just shove them back in. And it wasn't until quite recently archaeologists thought, what's going on here? And they excavated and they found quite important bits of the exterior of the Sphinx's head that had been carved by the ancient Egyptians into a shape where on the inside of the head, where the excavators, they had just shoved it back in there. They kind of just put it back in. So that's
So bad.
that's the story, the fact I learned of the
Oh,
Sphinx.
Tanya.
That is shocking. Wow.
It is terrible. Terrible people. So yeah, Alex, what's your fact?
Well, sticking with the history theme, I learned about. So, did you know that the Holy Roman Emperor Joseph II once mandated that all burials be performed with economy coffins? And these contained.
EasyJet.
Yeah, the Ryanair of coffin services. Yeah. These contained trapdoors that would drop the body into the grave, after which the coffins could be reused. And he also proclaimed that the deceased should be buried naked so that their clothes could be reused by others.
Come on, mate.
Unsurprisingly, this proved to be a deeply unpopular proclamation, and the decision was reversed after 6 months. But it led me to think, well, actually, no, the reason I chose this fact is this is so similar
6
to...
months.
Have either of you seen I Think You Should Leave? This is
No.
really similar to the coffin flop sketch. It's, yeah. But anyway, that aside, it made me wonder, like, yeah, I mean, this is
Wow.
obviously a deeply unpopular policy, but it was actually surprisingly, like, formed out of rational ideas. Like, the idea was that he didn't want to waste wood. It was a waste of wood.
Yes.
It was a waste of clothes.
That's really sustainable. It's good.
And he also made some other proclamations that were kept after this, which was that for like hygiene reasons, there should be a set time after death before burial, and there should be no bodies buried in the cities as well, I think, or like they should be buried on like in the outer perimeters, and this was expanded to the whole of the country.
No problem taking the clothes off the dead, though.
So it was, I mean, it was born out of like rational thinking from Joseph II, but yeah, maybe a little bit insensitive. But what do you think? Is this something that we should bring back?
Yeah. Have you seen coffins? They're ridiculously expensive, and they're really quite over the top.
I think there's a more dignified solution than putting a trapdoor in the bottom of it and just like
I would
letting
agree.
them
Yes.
go.
Okay. Yeah.
I remember as
Letting their
a
naked bodies just fall into a hole.
a fairly early memory of mine was my grandma's neighbour showing us her biodegradable coffin. And she got in it just and lay down. I was like, look, it fits. Fantastic.
Oh my god!
She had that way before her
That's
death.
when you close the lid
And so she was
put the padlock in.
she was environmentally conscious. I guess this was probably like the mid-90s, probably.
Yes.
But those exist, and I'm sure the majority of them probably are more sustainable now, right, than they were in the past. I imagine that's the case. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
I'm sure lots more people
One would
opt for that kind of thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, of course, I'm in favour of respect for the dead, and if people want to bury them in their clothes, certainly people want to be buried in their clothes. That should happen.
Well, there you go. But for those of you who have seen I Think You Should Leave, it was Holy Roman Emperor Joseph II who actually invented coffin flop. That's totally lost on you guys, but I'm leaving that in.
Yep.
Any more for any more? Did you have any more, Martin?
I've got another history one. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go for it. Go for it, Robin.
Go for it, Robin. Yeah, I've got one more too, but you go for it.
Okay. Did you know the Parthenon, the other iconic ancient construction from Greece in Athens? You know, it's all ruined. The rooftop was
It's all
blown out
ruined.
from in the 17th century, I think. There was an explosion inside and it kind of blew the roof off. And
Yeah.
And of course, Mr. Elgin came along and took some marbles, and it's all been. So it's not in the condition it was originally.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, in 1897, in Nashville, Tennessee, they built a life-size replica of the entire thing, as it would have been.
Wow.
And including the golden marble statue of Athena inside.
Wow. Oh, yeah.
And it's full size. Yeah. So, yeah, look it up. It's astonishing.
So you're saying if you want to see the Parthenon, go to Nashville, Tennessee.
Actually, yes. That's kind of what I'm saying. It's a really good, remarkable. And I thought, firstly, how random, how completely random. But secondly, we should do more of this. This is cool.
Yeah.
I'm sure it costs a lot.
I
but,
wonder,
you know.
I do wonder, how does Greece and Athens feel about this? Because they see on the one hand the British Museum taking things that belong to them, and now they've got the things that they do have. Other countries are just building their own ones and making them pristine and brand new. They're like, oh come on, let us have something.
It's so random. It's like, I've just Googled it. It's used as a wedding venue. There's just people just sat by the huge statue of Athena.
That's quite a wedding venue, in fairness. If you're a big fan of ancient Greece and history and stuff, then why not?
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Impressive. Very impressive.
never knew
Most
that.
impressive.
That's really cool, Robin. Yeah. No, good fact.
Yeah. Well, I do
Nice.
like mine when I saw it.
Go on then, Martin.
Well, in what appears to have been a kind of a history-dominated podcast, I also learned about the pastry war this week, which took place.
War, did you
pastry
say?
war, the pastry war. Have you heard of this?
Pastry war.
Pastry.
I have not.
I love pastry. Which took place in 1838 to 1839, so November to March. So not
It's like a whole year.
not a long war, but anyway, a bit of
Croissants
background.
are charging on the pain au chocolat. It's going to be a bloodbath. There's chocolate running in the streets. Ah! Sorry.
The layers of flaky pastry all ruined. Yeah. But anyway, so Mexico gained independence from Spain in 1820.
Whoa, sorry. Mexico is in? Wait a minute.
Yeah, Mexico's
Mexico's
involved
not
in
famous
this
for its
pastry war.
pastries, is it?
Hold on, just
When's the-
Sorry.
But then the French vanguard came charging through.
This is what's yeah. So basically, economic instability in Mexico. They gained independence from Spain in 1821, but there was a lot of like political and economic unrest. Well, political unrest, economic instability following this. And French nationals living in Mexico at this time claimed damages to their businesses during this period of unrest. So a big French population in Mexico at this time. And people looted, smashed up their shops. I don't know whether that was because they thought they were Spanish or whether it was just a period of unrest. But anyway, one of the most notable claims came from a French pastry chef called Monsieur Romontel, who demanded this compensation for the looting and damage to his shop. So he demanded 60,000 pesos for his shop in Mexico City. And this claim was ignored by the Mexican government. They were like, we're not going to give you 60,000 pesos. Don't be silly. Don't be silly, mate. And this led to a lot of diplomatic pressure from King Louis Philippe, who wanted to protect the interests of foreign nationals living abroad. And so he upped the ante. He was like, 60,000 pesos, that's nothing. We want 600,000 pesos now for all of the claims, including Monsieur Remontel's. Wow. And so tensions because of this tit for tat increased. And as a result, there was a French blockade. They deployed a fleet to the Gulf of Mexico and blocked Mexican ports and bombarded the fortress of San Juan de Ulua in Veracruz in 1838. And so Mexico then declared war on France. But of course, Mexico, with the economic instability, wasn't well equipped enough to be fighting a full-fledged war. So after a few months of sporadic fighting, they seeked a resolution. And so a peace agreement was reached, but Mexico did end up paying the French 600,000 pesos in compensation. So in a way, France actually won, but it really just show like something as simple as a pastry chef can cause a full-out war. The French are pretty protective over their pastries.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, how has that not been made into like an HBO special or something yet?
That should have been a movie at least, if not a whole TV series.
And not enough people died. That's the thing. There were very few casualties recorded, and you need deaths in these things. You need deaths. You need full-out war, not just a little bombardment. But Mexico fully declared war on France, which is just bizarre.
I wonder how Monsieur Remontel felt. I hope he felt guilty for starting a war.
I mean,
but
he probably was happy that he got his pesos.
Yeah,
that's pretty. Sounds like the French attitude towards something like this.
Yeah,
he's that awkward neighbor.
Of all the reasons to start a war, what is a better one than this?
My pastries.
Wonderful.
Oh, amazing. Oh, thanks, Martin.
That is a great story.
That's a great story.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Nice. Well, I've got another fact for you guys. Did you know that there may be a manhole cover hurtling through space as we speak? Have you heard of this?
No way.
What?
No.
Why?
So this is mad. I saw this popped up on my social media feeds, and I was like, "There's no way that's true." So I had to look it up. But in 1957, the US conducted a series of high-speed physics experiments at a Nevada test site involving nuclear testing called Operation Plum Bob. And on August 27th, 1957, And just as a side note, this was a few months before the Soviets first launched the first man-made satellite Sputnik into space. So this America might have accidentally got there first. So
I said put the first man into space.
Not the manhole cover. Yeah. But on August 27, 1957, one of these tests named Pascal B, which involved detonating a nuclear device in an underground shaft. Scientists were investigating the effects of a nuclear explosion in a confined space, and the experiment included a steel plate cap, essentially a manhole cover, placed over the shaft. The explosion generated a massive amount of energy, creating a high-pressure gas plume that propelled the steel plate upwards at an incredible speed. According to Dr. Robert Brownlee, one of the physicists involved, calculations suggested that the plate could have reached a velocity 6 times the escape velocity of Earth, about 150,000 miles per hour. If the speed is accurate, the plate could have been fast enough to escape Earth's gravity and enter space. Should be said, however, the plate was never found. There was no evidence that there was no definitive proof that it ever reached space. There was high-speed cameras set up to capture the event, but the plate disappeared from the frame in a single frame. Indicating it was it was traveling too fast to be recorded accurately. So, yeah, there you go. Some scientists entertain the possibility that it hurtled through space.
Because if it escaped Earth's gravity, it would just keep going, right? It would just keep going in a straight line through space.
I mean, yeah, like if it fully escaped Earth's gravity, I don't know what kind of orbit that would place it on. Maybe it's on a heliocentric kind of orbit around the sun, but I don't know.
It's another planet in our solar system.
Yeah.
It's manhole.
But yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. And just a couple of months before the Soviets launched Sputnik. So if you can count this as an artificial satellite, then the US won again.
Oh, that's really good.
Any more, or is that all the facts that we have available?
I mean, I have one more.
Oh, he's got one more for us. Go on then.
I got one more. Go
on then, see us home.
And there's a theme to my facts, apparently. It's architecture. And this is about the Royal Albert Hall. And I went there the other day, which is nice.
Did you go to the proms?
Lovely building. I did, yeah.
Very nice.
I went to the Say Babies proms for the kids, yeah.
Oh, nice. I
didn't go for the kids. That sounds creepy. I went
I went on my own.
For the kids.
You went on your own in a big raincoat. Yeah.
That'd be terrible. No, I was up in the gallery to the uppermost level, and it's just below the ceiling. You can look up and you've got those big mushrooms, they call them, the baffles that diffuse the sound. And I've been to the Albert Hall before, only a couple of times. I should go more often. But point is, I looked up at the roof and I thought, nice roof.
It's all right.
It's all dark. Anyone who's been there knows that it's completely dark inside. So they can do all the cool light displays and everything. There are no windows. But then I discovered the roof is made of glass. And the dome on top of the Albert Hall is actually the largest freestanding glass dome in the world.
There we go.
And it was
cool.
So it's not actually attached to the building. It's just sitting on top of the building. Oh. And to achieve this, they built a load of scaffolding back in 1869, I think. And they built a metal frame, and then they put, I think it's 279 tons of glass on this metal frame. And here's the risky part. They evacuated the building of all the workmen, cleared a space around it, and then the two brave people went in and with sledgehammers knocked out the supporting beams at the bottom of the scaffolding.
Wow.
And the scaffolding all falls down.
Wow.
And the roof dome stays in place.
Wow.
And it only sank apparently 8 millimeters. So they'd engineered it so well that it just shifted downwards 8 millimeters and just boom onto the top of the walls essentially. So yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow.
That was
outstanding.
Amazing
Incredible.
engineering, yeah.
Exactly. And what people could do.
It's a stunning building, to be fair.
It is. It's a really nice building. I like it. Yeah.
Well, thank you,
Awesome.
Robin. Yeah. Well, maybe we need to do a Just Interesting outing to the Royal Albert Hall at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Work it into a in plain sight or something. Well, thank you, Robin. And thank you, Martin. Thank you for all of the facts that you've shared with me this week. And thank you at home for listening to this episode. If there's any, let us know what you thought of this. If you want us to do more of these kind of just out of the box random fact ones, then yeah, let us know. Before we head off, though, did we want to discuss some of our favorite comments from the past week?
Oh, yes.
I, for one, had a comment from Andrew Winchester 895, and this was on our last podcast episode, How to Survive a Twister. And I think we were talking about deep fried foods. I think this was relating to your fact of the week, Robin.
Oh, yeah.
And
Tempura.
I think I said that like I wasn't that bothered about deep fried foods or something.
Yeah, you got some hate for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember what I said. But anyway, Andrew Winchester 895 said, Alex, go to the Chippy and get a half pizza supper. The pizza is battered and then deep fried. After 10 pints, this is the best thing ever. I mean, after 10 pints and then eating this, Andrew, I think that would kill me. I think I would literally die from that.
Doesn't sound like a great idea. 10 pints.
I mean, it does sound good, though. I'm not going to lie. But like a whole pizza, I feel like just one slice is surely... I can't. I don't know if I could do more.
Is there a suggestion on what topping or what toppings would you go for?
I mean, you've got to have cheese in there. Just stuffed crust, cheese, pepperoni. The classics, I guess. I don't know.
Fair enough. Yeah, I like it.
Wow. Yeah, but I mean, that does sound amazing. I will have to give it a go and let you know. If you never see me on this podcast again, just assume I ate this and died.
Oh, well, I've got a comment from Microtech, and this is in relation to the fact that I brought up on the How to Survive a Twister podcast too, about beavers having that little membrane, called a nictating membrane, over their eyes so that when they swim underwater, they can see.
Their own kind of swimming goggles, basically.
Exactly. And Microtech says that they believe that alligators also have this nictating membrane. So maybe it's a little bit more widespread, which I guess would make sense, right? It seems like such a competitive advantage. But
Nice.
there might be more. If you know any other animals out there that have a nictating membrane, a see-through membrane over their eyes, let us know in the comments.
So, in just interesting fashion, basically, you're not going to fact check the fact that you brought. You are going to let the comments add to it one at a time.
It sounds like it should be right.
Nice. And Robin, did you have a comment?
I do. I've got a comment from A Filthy Casual, one of our
lovely.
Patreon supporters, who commented on our latest video on Uncovered, our second channel on YouTube, which has like little mini documentaries, and our In Plain Sites, where we go on location and explore interesting places. And it's on the video about what did Nixon do with the missing Watergate tapes. Timely, it's the 50th anniversary coming up. And A Filthy Casual says something that I thought was kind of profound. And they said, for anyone ever finding themselves in a situation that tests your morals, remember, often the fine line preventing evil or injustice from succeeding is just one person or a few people refusing to do what they know isn't right. And I thought couldn't put it better myself. That was wonderfully put.
Who said that? Who said that originally? Was that a quote from someone?
There is that famous line, all it takes for evil to flourish is for good men to do nothing. And I can't remember who said that. Nelson Mandela.
Sentiments.
That's what we say, right? It's always Mandela.
His name? Albert Einstein. Yeah. Well, amazing. No, beautiful stuff. And thank you, everyone, so much for your comments. Please do keep them coming in. We love reading them. And we love reading them out as well and getting you involved in the podcast. So thank you. And thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode. Let us know what you thought in the comments down below. If you'd like to see more of this, then do let us know. And yeah, fellas, is there anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Just thank you and good night.
Perfect.
Well done. Beautiful. Thank you very much for listening,
everyone.
And good night.
That's a BBC radio host.
Good night.